All right, everyone. Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for Wednesday, April the 5th, 2023. As usual, we like to start our meetings off with a demo. I'm going to go and hand it off to Kevin Hoffman for a quick demo on the event sourcing framework for wasmCloud using WebAssembly.
Let's see if I can share my screen. All right. Anybody, can you confirm that you can see my terminal window here?
Looks good to me, Kevin.
Okay. So just like last time I did a demo on Concordance, which is the name of the event sourcing framework that we've built. There is no UI. I'll just run through this stuff from the terminal window. But one thing that I didn't demo last time was replay. So hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that now. So last time I went through this, there was a bank account demo where I submitted a bunch of commands to the event sourcing system, and the aggregates processed it, and the projectors built projections, and everything just kind of went through like pushing over a pile of dominoes. So you can see basically what I'm going to do is run through a bunch of these commands. They'll all be pushed on the bank account command stream, which means that the aggregate sitting on that stream will receive the commands, and it will produce a bunch of events. Let me just make sure that my streams are okay. Let me just clear some of this stuff out. All right, so that stream is purged. All right, no messages in there. Let's make sure that there's no state in here. Okay, so that was an awful long way to go for me to just say there's nothing up my sleeve and I have nothing set up and running. So what I have running is the bank account projector, and the bank account aggregate. And like I said, I'll submit a command or a bunch of commands, and the event sourcing plumbing will just go through and handle the commands and emit the events, and the events will produce state. And once I go through this, I'll show some of the code. I can't remember whether I showed the code for the aggregate last time. So assuming everything is in order. All right, so here I've submitted a bunch of commands, and you can see that the new version of this bank account shows that all the various transactions went through. So if I were to take a look at the event stream, you'll see that these are all cloud events, and cloud event is a specific standard. I think it's part of the CNCF, but basically it's just a specific type of JSON envelope around some data that has the event ID, the event type, which is the fairly important bit, and then the data that came with the event. So we can see that all these events are there. And we can check that the aggregate has state by looking at the state key value bucket. And I can check that state. There we go. Yeah. So that's the state of the aggregate, not to be confused with the state of the projector. Now, if I go into the projector, you'll see I get the current balance of the bank account, but I also get, there we go. I also get the ledger, which has the individual transactions that are part of the bank account. And so what I wanted to show today was replay. So let's say that I have lost all of my projections. So I'll delete my balance and I'll delete the ledger. Oh no, what am I going to do? Everything is horrible. So what I can actually do is, with concordance, all of the streams or all of the components that are part of the system are managed through consumers. So with the consumer, go that the events consumers. So you can see I've got a consumer for the aggregate, a consumer for the process manager, and another one for the projector. So if I've just blown away my projections, so now if I want to trigger a replay, I can just delete the projection consumer and then recreate it. And let's see if I actually have that that specific command. Yep, here it is. So I'm going to take the configuration data from this consumer and save it off into a configuration file. And next, I'm going to delete. And what I'm copying from is actually the concordance documentation on the Cosmonic website. So all this stuff is there if you want it. So now I'm going to make even more bad things happen, theoretically, right? I'm just going to delete this consumer. So I've deleted the consumer and I've deleted all of the projections. So if I want to start a replay, all I have to do is re-add the consumer back. And so now I see the consumer. I have this one back. We get the info on the projector. There are 4 unprocessed messages in here. So what I'm waiting for is the consumers have a poll timing. So in short, what that means is that they're not pulling every single message in real time. There's kind of an exponential back off in there. And let me see here. So now you can see 0 for unprocessed messages. That means that the replay went through. So now I can look and there's my balance. And there's my ledger. And everything rebuilt itself within a matter of seconds. And while on the surface that might seem like a fairly simple thing, being able to do this is actually one of the key things that you need to be able to do if you want to run and manage an event sourced system. So here I just manually deleted the projection, but you can imagine that you might need to do this kind of replay for disaster recovery if, say, you lose your projection database. But even more common than the disaster recovery scenario is, let's say you change the code in your projector and you redeploy a new version. What you want to be able to do is then rerun the entire set of events through that new projector so that the data that you're projecting has the new shape. And to do that, you would just go in, deploy your new projector, delete and recreate the consumer, and then walk away and everything is working fine. And this all works in distributed fashion. So if you're running concordance and you've got the capability provider running on multiple nodes, and you've got your aggregates and projectors all running multiple copies on multiple different hosts, everything still works exactly as I demoed it here. So like I said, there's no fancy UI, but hopefully you can extrapolate from here how easy it is to build some of these applications. And I think I showed this last time, but we just want to show that the aggregate here, you just implement the aggregate service trait. And so with the aggregate service trait, there is the handle command handler, and in here we handle the commands, and in response to the individual commands we emit events, and then the aggregate itself modifies its internal state by applying those events. So it's a subtle distinction, but important, that the command, the aggregate doesn't modify its own state when processing commands. It waits for the events for it to be able to modify its own state. And part of that has to do with being able to take part in replay. But yeah, there's a number of other long-winded explanations I can go into if you want, but for now, this is pretty much what I wanted to show, was just how easy it is to do replay, and how concordance pretty much takes care of all of the so-called hard parts of managing an event-sourced system. Any questions? Anybody want me to show something specific here?
Kevin, thank you for the demo. And I would just add some of my favorite parts about what you're working on are the docs that are still in flight here. I'm going to share my screen real quick and just point people at some of the work that you have already been putting out here. If you visit cosmonic.com docs and take a look, you'll find a helpful, I think, even intro, as well as the emerging developers and operations guide for the concordance event sourcing framework for wasmCloud. And there's even a great resources section here that links you out to some of the classic documents that really help to shape the space. Taking a big step back, why are we spending time on the call talking about this? One of the things that we've always really, that as part of the core vision for WebAssembly that's really resonated with us as a team, is that WebAssembly is going to transform all parts of application development, not just serverless functions. There's so many other types of software architecture, like microservices, event sourcing, where we're already building our applications with WebAssembly to do this. There was a talk we did at the last KubeCon where we showed the back end of Cosmonic, and we showed that it's all built on wasmCloud in WebAssembly, using this very same event sourcing framework that we've just continued to iterate on and emerge from there. Kevin, is there anything you'd like to add along those lines around the sort of like high level strategic vision here for where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, the main motivation here is to make it easy for people to build distributed event source apps. Event sourcing is hard enough to do right when the framework is already taken care of. It isn't taken care of for you, and it gets worse when you have to do everything on your own. So part of what we're trying to do here is not only make it easier to do event sourcing applications, but to show how you can build frameworks and platforms like this on top of wasmCloud to, make developers' lives easier. And I'll be giving a talk on wasmCloud and event sourcing and concordance at KubeCon in a couple of weeks. So what I just went over is kind of a quick condensed version, but I'll be going into more detail on, some of the general philosophy behind event sourcing, as well as, showing the various demos.
Yeah, and that's maybe a good segue here. Maybe a little out of order, but just a quick preview of some of the upcoming events where you can catch up with the team. This week, Bailey Hayes and Brooks Townsend are both in DevOps Days Nashville. So if you're in that area, feel free to catch up with them down there. And then I'm looking ahead 2 weeks out to Sunday, the 17th or the 16th. We've got Cloud Native Rejects kicking off. I'm sorry, this is April 17th is when we're speaking. I think that's the Monday there. You can find Brooks and Taylor talking about using WASM now, and then Taylor later chatting about the post Kubernetes world, looking at what WebAssembly looks like from there. Moving into April 18th, there's a number of talks that will be featuring wasmCloud and some of the wasmCloud community members to highlight. Let's start with Bailey Hayes opening up the conference with evolution of WASM, past, present, and future. I'm excited to announce, if you didn't notice yet, but I was able to convince Kelsey Hightower, one of the OG fathers of Kubernetes, to give the WASM Day opening keynote. Then later in the day, we'll see Jordan Rash talking about Zero Trust Microservices with WASM and WireGuard, a demo that you may have seen parts of here. I know he's been furiously working on that and building out some better demonstrations. Jordan, I'll give you a moment if you want to hype your talk a little bit more to do that. And then Brooks Townsend has got a lightning talk. Where the server goes, nobody knows. I'm sure it will be a fun and exciting talk. And then Sean Isom, occasional WASM Cloud community attendee, is going to be doing a session on WASM and Kubernetes. And if you didn't have a chance to review it, we actually co-published a case study in the CNCF with Adobe, where they talk about some of the lessons learned in moving microservices to wasmCloud. So I think that was pretty exciting. And then finally, as we move into the Kubernetes main session on the 19th, 20th, and 21st on Friday in Amsterdam, Netherlands, you can find Kevin Hoffman giving his full session talk about distributed event sourcing with wasmCloud. Jordan, I'll pass to you real quick if you want. Do you have anything you want to add for your talk?
Does microphone work?
This thing's on.
Oh, cool. No, I think, week or two, I'll probably have a better idea of what I'm doing with my life. No, really focusing on like problems I saw early days is like in a SOC as a security person, and stringing scripts together with pipes and redirects and all this, and adding that with the supply chain, and really just like diving in on what zero trust means. And I think Z put it the best, and when they said like it's not about mistrust, it's about segmenting trust, and I really like that. And I'll be focusing on that and how WebAssembly, wasmCloud, and Tailscale really help us achieve things like that.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. And for those of you that aren't familiar, Jordan did mention Z. She's one of our wonderful community members. She hangs out on wasmCloud Slack, and her blog is great if you ever have a chance to look at this. But always interesting and provocative commentary and thoughts and things like that. I'll drop that drop a link here to the blog right into chat for anybody that's interested. And then on the agenda today, I think we had scheduled an update around WADM, but I don't believe Taylor's on to give that update today. So we may just postpone that one to next week. I will just call it out that WADM has been under some pretty aggressive development in the last few weeks, and Taylor is quickly converging on his view of a 1.0 here. As he continues to build out around all the open application manifest, and really realizing this vision inside of Cosmonic. I'm sorry, inside of a wasmCloud, which is also used by Cosmonic upstream, by the way. Not that anyone cares. See other updates. The wasmIO videos were not broadcast live, but they are out. There's some phenomenal ones on here. The two sort of early themes of where people seem to be interested are around the component model. Bailey's accumulated almost 10,000 views on her talk, and garbage collection. There's three talks here that very realistically are about garbage collection with various languages. So I was not able to attend this event, but I heard it was phenomenal. Feel free to check it out and give us any feedback or chat about it on our Slack. Let me just do an open call to the community here. So Jordan's question. Liam said WADM 1.0. I've never thought about it, but what does wasmCloud 1.0 look like? I think that's a great question, Jordan. I know Bailey has got some thoughts here, and I'm sure Kevin does as well. Coming out of KubeCon, we actually have some time set aside to plan that discussion, or to have that exact discussion. So look for maybe some ideas there over the next few weeks, and we can go from there. Open floor here. Anybody on the call want to bring anything up or open topics coming up into KubeCon here? All right. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful wasmCloud Wednesday, because we got kind of a quick meeting today. And I really look forward to seeing many of you at KubeCon here in 2 weeks. And for those of you that aren't there, I'm sure we'll have a ton of live updates, and the wasmCloud Slack will be the place to pick up what's going on in the community and live links to talks as they're available. All right, I'm going to go and stop the